In medicine, it can lead to fatal diagnostic error. In law, it can lead to false accusations and miscarriages of justice. And in business, managerial arrogance puts companies at a greater chance of both committing fraud and declaring bankruptcy. And in the case of OceanGate, safety warnings being ignored that led to the implosion and the loss of life of those aboard the Titan. Hey, welcome back. Today, we dive into the preference people sometimes have for arrogance over genuine confidence. Confidence is usually a good thing. Unfortunately, confidence isn't always attractive, at least not in every situation. A less confident person may find confidence in others to be intimidating. Confident people seem like they have their lives sorted out, whether it's true or not. And it can leave less confident people to wonder where they fit in. It may also trigger a bit of self-loathing in even mildly unconfident people, in which they simply feel like they're not good enough or have little to offer people who are more confident. If a less confident person meets others like themselves and they pick up on this, there's less reason to be intimidated. In the best case scenario, they see a kindred spirit, a fellow misfit, another person who is struggling to find their place in the world and maybe doesn't know who they are yet either. Instead of feeling that they would be a drag on that person or not good enough, the less confident person can feel like they are a positive force in the other person's life. Confidence leaves no room for this, but the perceived lack of confidence might. In the late 1980s, the psychologist James Reason wanted to understand the reason behind car accidents. So he did a little experiment, and among 520 drivers, only 5 considered themselves worse than average, which was fewer than 1%. The rest, even the truly abysmal drivers, the truly dreadful drivers, who were constantly making errors, considered themselves to be at least as good as the next person. And many thought they were a lot better. It was basically a mass delusion that rendered them completely blind to their own failings. 3 decades later, psychologists have documented similar deluded levels of confidence in many different traits and abilities. An assistant professor of psychology at York University explained how confidence can actually be contagious. If you have been exposed to an overconfident person, then you become more likely to overestimate your own relative standing. She said it's a tendency that could cause dangerously deluded levels of thinking to spread through a team. In her experiment, she found that the humbler participants were much more likely to increase their own ratings once they had been placed with an overconfident person. It was quite remarkable. In her second experiment, the results were even more striking. Chen confirmed that the illusion of superiority caught from one person can be transmitted to another, a cascade that can lead it permeate through a group from a single source. So it could spread through a group from one single person. She also documented a spillover effect. So once you catch overconfidence in one domain, you may become arrogant in another. To make matters worse, the consequence can last long after the interaction. Just a few minutes of exposure to an arrogant person skewed the confidence of the other participants' own judgment days later. To make matters worse, the consequences can last long after the interaction. Just a few minutes of exposure to an arrogant person skewed the participants' own judgment days later. Chang's results fit with many other studies of conformity, including our memory of shared events, our perception of beauty, and our political opinions. Just by being exposed to someone, you are more likely to acquire their way of behaving and their way of thinking. She also said, our findings suggest that some of that overconfidence might have been due to this social contagion effect. Chang says that could have led to many individuals adopting questionable practices that contributed to their downfall. Overconfidence in our own skills on the road may lead to risky driving and serious accidents. In medicine, it can lead to fatal diagnostic error. In law, it can lead to false accusations and miscarriages of justice. And in business, managerial arrogance puts companies at a greater chance of both committing fraud and declaring bankruptcy. And in the case of OceanGate, safety warnings being ignored that led to the implosion and the loss of life of those aboard the Titan. When you unfoundly brag about your skills, you may send ripples of overconfidence throughout your social networks suddenly sustaining the mass delusion that James Reason had helped document all those years ago, back in the late 1980s. Thank you for joining me today. Understanding the distinction between these two is vital for fostering healthy relationships and creating a positive, safe environment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.
Because it just didn't fit his narrative.
By the time we're done testing it, I believe it's pretty much invulnerable.
Ironically, in your race to Titanic, you are mirroring that famous catch cry, "She is unsinkable."
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
It's kind of red flags from the start.
You know, I've broken some rules to make this.